Two little boys go into the grocery store. One is 9, one is 4. The 9-year-old grabs a box of tampons from the shelf and carries it to the register for checkout. The cashier asks, "Oh, these must be for your mom, huh?" The 9-year-old replies, "Nope, not for my mom." "Oh, well, they must be for your sister then," says the cashier without thinking. "Nope, not for my sister either," says the boy. The cashier had now become curious. "Oh, not for your mom and not for your sister. Then who are they for?" "They're for my 4-year-old little brother," says the kid calmly. The cashier is surprised. "Your little brother? Why?" The 9-year-old explains. "Well, they say on TV if you wear one of these, you can do lots of stuff like swim, run real fast or ride a bike, and my little brother can't do any of those things. ... The local sheriff was looking for a deputy, so Chad, the new blonde recruit, wants the job. "Okay," the sheriff drawled. "Chad, what is 1 and 1? 11, he replied. The sheriff thought to himself, "That's not what I meant," but he's right. What 2 days of the week start with the letter T? Today and tomorrow. He was again surprised that Chad supplied a correct answer that he had never thought of himself. Perhaps he has a creative mind. Now, Chad, listen carefully. Who killed Abraham Lincoln? Chad looked a little surprised himself, then thought really hard for a minute and finally admitted, "I don't know." "Well, why don't you go home and work on that one for a while?" So Chad wandered over to the pool hall where his pals were waiting to hear the results of the interview. "Hey, Chad. How was it?" "It went great. First day on the job, and I'm already working on a murder case. Irende. There was a redhead man, a bald man, and a blond man working on the top of a cliff. The redhead said, 'You know, every day it's the same sandwich my wife makes me. I'm so sick of it. If I have cheese in my sandwich tomorrow, I'll jump off this cliff.' The bald man said, 'Right there with you, my friend. If I have jam in my sandwich tomorrow, I'll jump off the cliff.' The blond man said, 'With you all the way, chaps. If I have ham tomorrow, I'll jump off the cliff.' The next day, the redhead man had cheese, the bald man had ham, and the blond man had jam. So they all jumped. At the funerals, the wives of the redhead man and the bald man said, 'Why didn't they just tell us they didn't like their sandwiches?' The blonde's wife said in tears, 'I don't understand it. He made his own sandwiches.' 3 dots. A man and a woman meet at a party. They hit it off right away and decide to head back to her apartment. After a few more drinks, the man slips off his jacket, then heads to the sink to wash his hands. He then removes his pants, and once again, he washes his hands. The woman, watching him closely, says with a grin, 'Let me guess, you're a surgeon, aren't you?' The man, a bit surprised, replies, 'Wow, yes. How did you know?' 'Simple,' she replies. 'You keep washing your hands.' Things heat up, and before long, they end up in bed together. After they're done, the woman says, 'You must be an excellent surgeon.' Feeling quite pleased with himself, the man asks, 'I am. But how could you tell?' With a playful smile, she quips, 'Didn't feel a thing.' Nanga, a librarian is woken up in the middle of the night by a phone call. 'What time does the library open?' the man on the phone asked. Annoyed, the librarian composed himself before he answered. 9 a.m., he said. 'And what's the idea of calling me at home in the middle of the night to ask a question like that?' 'Not until 9 a.m., the man asked in a disappointed voice. The librarian began to get angry. 'No, not until 9 a.m., said the librarian. 'You can't get in by then, so you'll just have to wait.' 'Who said I wanted to get in?' The man sighed sadly. 'I want to get out.' A blonde was speeding in a 35-mile-per-hour zone when a local police officer pulled her over and walked up to the car. The officer also happened to be a blonde, and she asked for the blonde's driver's license. The driver searched frantically in her purse for a while and finally said to the blonde policewoman, "What does a driver's license look like?" Irritated, the blonde cop said, "You dummy, it's got your photo on it." The blonde driver frantically searched her purse again and found a small, rectangular mirror down at the bottom. She held it up to her face and said, "Aha! This must be my driver's license," and handed it to the blonde policewoman. The blonde cop looked in the mirror, handed it back to the driver and said, "You're free to go. Also, if I had known you were a police officer too, we could have avoided all of this." A mother visits her son for dinner, who has a girl as a roommate. During the meal, his mother can't help but notice how pretty his roommate is. She has long been suspicious of a relationship between the two, and this has only made her more curious. Over the course of the evening, while watching the two interact, she starts to wonder if there's more between her son and his roommate. Reading his mom's thoughts, her son volunteers, "I know what you must be thinking, but I assure you, we are just roommates." About a week later, his roommate comes to him and says, "Ever since your mother came over for dinner, I've been unable to find the silver serving tray." "You don't suppose your mother took it, do you?" He replies, "Well, I doubt it, but I'll email her just to be sure." He sits down and writes, "Dear Mom, after visiting me, I found that my silver serving tray is missing. I'm not saying that you took it, and I'm not saying that you didn't take it. But the fact remains that it has been missing ever since you were over for dinner. Love, your son." Several days later, he receives an email from his mother which reads, "Dear son, I'm not saying that you sleep with your roommate. And I'm not saying that you don't sleep with her. But the fact remains that if she was sleeping in her own bed, she would have found the silver serving tray by now. Under her pillow." 7. Many years ago, there were two sisters, one blonde and one brunette, who inherited the family ranch. Unfortunately, after just a few years, they are in financial trouble. In order to keep the bank from repossessing the ranch, they need to purchase a bull from a stockyard in a faraway town so that they can breed their own stock. They only have $600 left. Upon leaving, the brunette tells her sister, "When I get there, if I decide to buy the bull, I'll contact you to drive out after me and haul it home." The brunette arrives at the stockyard, inspects the bull, and decides she wants to buy it. The man tells her that he will sell it for $599, no less. After paying him, she drives to the nearest town to send her sister a telegram to tell her the news. She walks into the telegraph office and says, "I want to send a telegram to my sister, telling her that I've bought a bull for our ranch. I need her to hitch the trailer to our pickup truck and drive out here so we can haul it home." The telegraph operator explains that he'll be glad to help her, then adds, "It's just 99 cents a word." Well, after paying for the bull, the brunette only has $1 left. She realizes that she'll only be able to send her sister one word. After a few minutes of thinking, she nods and says, "I want you to send her the word comfortable." The operator shakes his head. "How is she ever going to know that you want her to hitch the trailer to your pickup truck and drive out here to haul that bull back to your ranch if you send her just the word comfortable?" The brunette explains, "My sister's blonde. The word's big. She'll read it very slowly. Comfortable." Yet three women go down to Mexico one night to celebrate college graduation. They get drunk and wake up in jail, only to find that they are to be executed in the morning, though none of them can remember what they did the night before. The first one, a redhead, is strapped in the electric chair and is asked if she has any last words. She says, "I just graduated from Trinity Bible College and believe in the almighty power of God to intervene on the behalf of the innocent." They throw the switch and nothing happens. They all immediately fall to the floor on their knees, beg for forgiveness, and release her. The second one, a brunette, is strapped in and gives her last words. "I just graduated from the Harvard School of Law, and I believe in the power of justice to intervene on the part of the innocent." They throw the switch, and again, nothing happens. Again, they all immediately fall to their knees, beg for forgiveness, and release her. The last one, a blonde, is strapped in and says, "Well, I'm from the University of Texas and just graduated with a degree in electrical engineering, and I'll tell you right now, you ain't gonna electrocute nobody if you don't plug this thing in." 9 dots. A timekeeper at a factory is in charge of blowing the whistle for the lunch break at noon. When it's almost noon, she looks at her watch, and right when it strikes 12 p.m., she blows the whistle. One day she bumps her watch against something, and she fears that it is a little off. Wanting to make sure that she can do her job correctly, she decides to go get her watch set by a professional clockmaker. The woman goes to the shop and has the clockmaker set her watch to the correct time. She tells the clockmaker what she does for a living and that it is important that her watch keeps correct time. The clockmaker tells her that she needn't worry, because he set his watch by the clocks in the back, and that he can be sure that they're on time because he sets them every Sunday when the church bells ring at 6 a.m. The woman leaves the shop satisfied, but starts to ask herself, how does the church know exactly when it is 6 a.m.? So she goes to the church and finds the bell ringer and asks him, how does he know when to ring the bells, and how does he make sure that he has the correct time? The bell ringer tells her that he rings the bells right when his watch strikes 6 a.m. "I'm sure my watch is accurate," he reassures her. "I check it every day at noon when the factory goes on break." But the 3 bank robbers, a redhead, a brunette, and a blonde, are trying to evade the police when they come across a farm. Being short on time and options, they all decide to hide in the barn. The redhead hides near the horses, the brunette hides near the cows, and the blonde hides in a pile of potatoes. When the police come to search the barn, first they come to the horse stables. The redhead lets out a hefty neigh. The cops are convinced that the horses are indeed alone, and the redhead escapes. The police then search the cow pens. The brunette saw what the first robber had done and belts out a deep moo. The cops are again convinced, and the brunette is able to escape. The police finally turn to the stall where the blonde has hidden. The blonde, seeing how easily the other two had gotten away, decides to use the same method. So as the police officers came close, they suddenly hear, "Potato!" Padinondre? A rabbi and a priest meet up after a year not seeing each other. The rabbi goes, "Man, you've put on some weight since last time." Priest, "Yeah, I know. It is a new technique I came up with. You go to a restaurant, eat as much as you can. When the bill comes, you tell them you already paid for it." Rabbi, "Sure, but the waiter won't believe you, right?" Priest, "Of course he won't. That's when you tell him how dare he doubt a man of faith. It usually works, and you can leave without paying." Rabbi, "Very nice. I'll be trying this." Later that day, the rabbi goes to his favorite kosher restaurant. After eating 5 plates, the waiter comes up to him with the bill. Rabbi, "Oh, I already paid." Waiter, I'm pretty sure you did not, sir." Rabbi, "You know I'm a rabbi. How dare you doubt a man of faith?" "I told you, I already paid." Waiter, "So sorry, sir. You're right. It must be some misunderstanding. You're good to go." 15 minutes goes by and the rabbi is still at the table. 30 minutes. 45 minutes. 1 hour and he's still there. The waiter walks up to him. "Sir, why are you still here?" Rabbi, "Well, I'm waiting for the change." Benidender, 2 blondes are working at a warehouse. One blonde, tired of working, says to the other, "Watch this. I'm going to act crazy so that the boss will send me home." She climbs up the racking and hangs from the rafters, yelling, "I'm a light bulb! I'm a light bulb! I'm a light bulb!" "What are you doing? Get down from there and go home," shouts the boss. The second blonde picks up her tool bag and heads towards the door. "Where in the do you think you're going?" the boss exclaims. "What? I can't be expected